Good morning. Welcome back. Let me check something out here. I got an idea here about something. Where are the filters for this thing? Go with properties. Properties doesn't seem to be doing very much. Okay. Where are the properties? Where are the transforms? I got an idea that might help here. Here we go. It's not really doing very much. Whatever, we're just going to go with it and see how it works. So anyways, here we are. I'm working on drawings for a while. I started a bunch of drawings the other night, and now it's time to finish them. Let me see here. I got an idea here. We need Mr. Eraser. This is going to be for the Fantasy Castles series. So we're back working on this. So yeah, I have this series called Fantasy Castles, and we're going to do a little bit on that today. And maybe see where it turns out. Oh yeah, before we do anything, we should move the very dangerous water out of the way. There. Get this in better here. How does that look? Not too bad. Can't really see the whole thing, but that's alright. I'll scroll back and let you sort of see it. So yeah. Looking down, yeah, we're still looking down on this. So I can still go up a little bit. Perspective. Perspective can be very useful. So, we got something happening here. Do something really a little different here. Bring this down a little. I did start some oil painting. We'll get into some oil painting later on today, I think. Oh yeah, I like this. This will be cool. And this is not a castle I'd want to try to invade. Not at all. So yeah, I don't know what to talk about this morning. What's going on out there? Hey, we got a viewer. Welcome aboard. Whatever's happening. Add something to the stream chat. Ask a question. Make a profound statement. These are definitely fantasy castles, because I don't know of any place in Europe that really quite has the geometry or the geography of what I'm trying to draw here. I've been thinking about adding some dragons to this. I have done some dragon painting. Well, drawings. I don't know, this is always weird. It always says there's somebody on here watching, and they never talk back. It's like the great silent public, which I'm not really sure about. watching some drawing tutorials on YouTube. It's the great thing about YouTube. Whatever you want to learn about, it's on YouTube. Anything. I know a guy who learned how to breathe fire by watching YouTube videos. I'm not kidding you. I would not learn fire breathing from YouTube videos myself because, first of all, I'm not interested in fire breathing, and I also don't see what advantages it gives you, but okay. I mean, if you're a naturally born dragon, then yeah, it gives you great advantages, but for a human, it's basically just some kind of fuel that burns at a low temperature and you're blowing it out your mouth while you light it. I'm not sure what that proves. Yeah, fire breathing is just really not my thing. Now, ooh, you know what? That's about the perfect size for a cartouche. Let's try it out. It is. This tray is cool. And decided that's one of my problems. I can't forget to put that in at the beginning. In fact, that might be the very first thing that has to go in, is the cartouche block, so I can line that up so it makes some kind of sense relative to what's going to happen in the painting. Yeah, these are just like fantasy landscapes with a castle in them. Although I think that the geography is somewhat inspired by my time in the far west of America. They're really dramatic, cool looking mountains there. It was a great place. It was a great place scenically, a lot of problems financially. When I was there, jobs were hard to come by. It was 2006, no, it's 2007. It's 2007, 2008, right at the beginning of the financial crisis. Decent jobs were hard to come by, and there was an attitude that just really wasn't really my thing. This rugged individualist attitude. Yeah, baby. Everybody's on their own. Yeehaw. Okay, well, that's probably not the way to build a successful society. Not in my opinion. I'm all for individualism and people pursuing their best interests, but it has to be mitigated in terms of society as a whole. This idea that the only thing that matters is self is Ayn Randian, and it's bullshit. I'm not a big fan of Ayn Rand. came out of the military, man. Teamwork. Many hands make light work. Yeah, this has a nice variety of stuff in it. It's got a plain here. It's got a little forest. It's got a couple of mountains. This one's almost ready to start on. Okay, good. Lovely. That side. Stack needs color. This needs to be finished up so I can paint it. This is going to be the first fachwerkhouse drawing where the fachwerkhouse is in the city. You know what? I don't like this. Fix your drawing early and the painting will be fine. Fix your drawing late and you're just SOL. That's it. It's 10:21 a.m. here in Bavaria. That means it's like 3 o'clock in the morning in America. Everybody's asleep or passed out from drinking too much alcohol. And let's look at some news here. Let's see what's happening on... Well, wait a minute. We've got Deutsche Welle somewhere here. Let's go find that. New Year's Eve, COVID cloud mutes celebrations. The world is welcoming the new year after another pandemic-ridden 12 months. Deutsche Welle has the latest. Great. I think this might be the last year of the worst of the pandemic. If we're lucky. I don't know if we'll be lucky, but if we are, it could be the last year. It could also mutate or really recombine with something else and become a real nightmare. Let us hope that does not pass. But it could happen. You could get an RNA recombination between MERS and COVID. That would be bad. Very bad. There'd be a lot of very sick people. Probably a lot of dead people. This drawing was inspired by my trip to Ulm, which is slightly north of here. Northwest of here. It was a nice day. I enjoyed my day and all. The weather was kind of bleh. I got another train ticket. I'm thinking about going to Regensburg. That's supposed to be pretty cool. The other possibility, it's a much longer trip and I wouldn't be able to spend as much time there. Although I guess I could get a room. I don't know, man. It's in Austria. I could go to Salzburg. It's not that far away. But the problem is I don't know what the rules are for entering and leaving Austria right now. That's why I'm not going to Prague. Because I don't know if I could get over there and then Germany could decide, okay, anybody coming back from Czech Republic has to quarantine for 2 weeks. And yeah, I could do that. I have a secure job. I can work from home. I have a computer here and I do programming. But the fact is, I prefer being in the office. I just feel more productive like that. And it gets me out of the house, and 2 weeks in quarantine here is not my idea of a good time. Not at all. Yeah, I need some pictures. Let's see. What Putin Wants by Konstantin Eggert. The Russian leader has no interest in a compromise, only in the West's capitulation. The Kremlin says as much. The US and the EU should take notice. Deutsche Welle's Konstantin Eggert writes. One of Vladimir Putin's favorite stories in his tell-all book, 2000, from the first person, is about a large rat he was chasing as a schoolboy with a group of friends inside the Leningrad apartment block where he lived. He cornered the animal. Suddenly, the rat turned on its pursuer and aggressively attacked Putin. He even had to flee. For Putin, metaphors of strength and desperation always held a special meaning. These days, they are doubly important. There was a flurry of statements from Putin's closest foreign policy confidants immediately before and after the Russian leader's phone call with U.S. President Joe Biden. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Putin's foreign affairs advisor Yuri Ushakov, and Russia's ambassador to the U.S., Anatoly Anatonov, all focused on one point. Moscow will not agree to the endless Cold War-style talks with the U.S. and drop its insistence on legally binding security guarantees from the West. These include assurances that NATO will not admit any more new members from the ranks of the former Soviet republics, i.e. Ukraine and Georgia, as well as promise to decrease the alliance's military activity in Central Europe and the Baltic states. Russia also warns the U.S. not to deploy any short and intermediate-range missiles to Europe. Putin is making it clear he will consider withdrawing Russian armed forces from the Ukraine border only after NATO scraps the promise of future membership made to the Ukraine and Georgia at the Alliance's summit in Bucharest in 2008. Well, I do sort of understand Putin's position. As he says, if Russia had ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistic nuclear capable missiles in Canada, America would not be happy about it. In fact, we tried this once before. It was called the Cuban Missile Crisis. And in the end, Kennedy backed down and removed intermediate range missiles from Turkey, which were aimed at the Soviet Union, it was an aggressive posture. It was not cool, and it was making the world a more dangerous place. I fully support the independence of Ukraine, Georgia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland from Russia. On the other hand, I also think that Russia does have some legitimate points here about their own security and safety. And the fact is, they have been invaded a couple of times from the West. And it has always been very bad for the Russian people when that happens. And unfortunately, America does have a kind of a reputation for starting wars now because of what it did in Iraq. which was really illegal, according to the Treaty of Westphalia. So, whatever. On the other hand, I think Russia is the main problem here. It is not a free country. It does not treat its own citizens with much in the way of respect for human rights. That looks good. I like that. That's cool. That middle building is cool. So yeah, I get it. Biden already said that the Ukraine needs to fix its corruption problem before thinking about membership. The Ukraine is the most corrupt state in all of Europe. It is more corrupt than Russia. He also reiterated that the United States will not deploy any offensive weapons on Ukrainian territory. In theory, it may also be possible to limit U.S. military cooperation with Kiev, although this risks infuriating Congress. In fact, Washington made the most of possible concessions to Moscow before the Russia-U.S. talks in Geneva, scheduled for January 10th, even started. But the Kremlin is pressing ahead with demands it knows will not be granted. Why? It's obviously a political strategy. And that's obviously what's coming in the next paragraph. I would say both Russia and China feel that the United States is weak. Its performance in Afghanistan was pathetic. What happened there at the end was just some generals, a bunch of generals on the chief of staff and in the army should have been fired. That was just completely irresponsible. The fact that they were not fired is a very bad sign for America. Generals who don't win wars need to be fired. And no, I don't care about their future or anything else, and they need to be banned from working for the military-industrial context for life afterwards for money. They need to remember it's about duty, honor, and country, period. So that was a bad scene. What happened there did not work out well. Excuse me. Burpee boy. So yeah, he thinks America is weak. The Russian leadership thinks that the moment to press for inflexible demands is right and unique. Germany is headed by the Russia-friendly Social Democrats who refuse to abandon the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. France is in the midst of a scandalous presidential campaign, with one leading contender promising to take the country out of NATO and lift anti-Kremlin sanctions. The United States is headed by a nearly octogenarian president, with an administration split between China First realists and, let's not forget, Russia internationalists. The Ukraine itself is weakened by permanent political turmoil and severely undermined by its slow response to the pandemic. There's one more consideration. As commander-in-chief, Putin cannot afford to kick the Russian forces back and forth in massive, costly deployments twice a year for the sake of mere phone calls with the U.S. president. This produces an image of indecisiveness and weakness, something Putin abhors. Russia is not a democracy, so keeping key elite constituencies on board and happy is of paramount importance for the leadership. The Army top brass is one of them. This is one of the main tools of ensuring regime stability. Putin knowingly paints himself into a corner because he strives for a fight with Ukraine. He seemingly views it as both a strategic necessity and as a matter of historical legacy. So forget the Khrushchev-Kennedy and Brezhnev-Nixon summits. Putin's Russia thinks of itself as much more desperate and much freer to act than the Soviets. A weak man pushed into a corner has nothing to lose. So you might as well just fight back. That, I think, is the real problem. Russia's much weaker today than it was during Soviet times. So, yeah, I think realistically there might very well be a war. I don't think it'll end well. I don't think it'll end well for Russia. I think Russia's vastly overestimating what it's getting into. And if I was Russia, I'm not sure I would want the Ukraine. It is horrifically corrupt. Why would you want to put yourself through this much trouble? I'm not exactly sure. You know, if I want to go conquer something, I was just saying to myself, Chris, if you're going to go conquer something, what would you go conquer? And the fact is, I would go conquer something that's going to give me something useful in return. The Ukraine does have some businesses that are worth having. That is true. But when you look at the problems that place is going to cause Russia, Russia's already behind the power curve. I would concentrate much more on fixing my own problems at home than I would on invading the Ukraine personally. That's just me. I'm not Putin, and Putin is not me. His thinking is different than mine. I also fear that the Russian military may be doing some overestimating of its abilities, but it may not. I don't know. It definitely has some good weapons. It probably does not have as many good weapons as it probably would like to have. The real question, though, is the quality of the troops. That is really the ultimate question in any fight, is how well motivated the troops are, and if they can function well. Russian army has a long history since the end of the Soviet Union with corruption and malfeasance. I don't know if that problem is solved. Maybe a war will help. I don't know. The Ukraine has an army of 500,000 people on paper. It does not really have the supplies, or the tanks, or the aircraft to fight back, but it does have 500,000 people. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. This is going to be a cool painting. I like this one. I need to practice drawing some ox carts, some horses, some characters, and put some characters in these paintings. Before I do that, I need to do some practice, though. That's going to have to be practice. Let's see what else is new. Asia readies world's largest trade deal. Economic giants China, Japan, South Korea are likely to benefit the most from RCEP trade pact. Okay. Germany's COVID figures may be an undercount. Yeah, that could be. We already know that. Our numbers are quite low here, and nobody's really sure what's going on. They're unusually low. We've been told that probably due to Christmas, things have been undercounted. This will be a fun one. This is going to be great fun to paint. I already like this direction. And I got a lot of paper to use up. Gotta get on with it. Gotta use that paper, baby. So, New Year's resolutions. Well, I'm going to eat better breakfasts. I'm going to probably reduce the amount of bad meat that I eat. I eat bacon. As much as I love it, it's not that healthy. I'm going to try to do more drawing and painting. I'm going to try to get this business off the ground. I have a plan. Unfortunately, the plan was completely sabotaged by the evil COVID virus. Let's see what else. Belgium, gas explosion in Turnhout kills 3. And that does happen here occasionally. Germany cancels Israeli historian award for genocide denial. Greif has been criticized for his position on the Srebrenica massacre. South Korean ex-president Park freed after 5 years. Italian police find cocaine hidden inside a banana shipment. Is that a banana in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? France to make birth control free for women 18 to 25. Erdogan, keep all savings in lira. You're an idiot. Well, that's the news from Deutsche Welle. Anything from Die Welt? No, not really. I'm not really into that. Anyways, get back here. Focus on this. It's a dangerous world out there. Yeah, I really do think Russia would just be better off focusing on fixing its own problems. Of course, that would mean dealing with the corruption, and that may be very difficult. Russia has a lot of corruption, too. think that's the point that a lot of people are missing. Even a lot of well-meaning leftists don't understand that people do have to have economic freedom to create stuff and enjoy the fruits of their work if you want to get anything like a functioning society. That's the part that Marx and Engels really failed to understand. Frankly, they're just way over-optimistic about human nature. If there really was some kind of a system where everybody, like if a big corporation, like let's say, well, let's take a typical example. VW is owned like 50% by the state of Lower Saxony. Now here, that works pretty well because Lower Saxony gets the dividends from that as revenue for part of their tax returns. This is going to be a fun painting. I like this already. This is the direction we want to go. So that does tend to work. But see, there has to be a payback. If you're going to have a vaguely communistic society or something like that, then you've got to have like a public dividend or something where when society prospers, everybody prospers. And that really was sort of missing from the Soviet Union and from China before the reforms. They never seemed to figure that part out. And China went one direction. It tried to open up and allow capitalism, but under communist control, which has been successful in many ways. Although now capitalism is kind of running out of control there, which is problematic. For them, the communists. It's not problematic for the other people. Russia went through a period of complete anarchy, which I agree with Putin. That was screwed up. What happened after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the rise of the robber barons there and everything, that just didn't work well. That was not a system. That was a clusterfuck, as we say in the Army. But the solution isn't going to be more authoritarianism. It's going to be a system of rules, laws, and regulations, and somehow getting people to abide by those, and building an independent judiciary that functions in the interests of society. But see, that really requires an attitude. I started writing this book a while back on values and integrity. I haven't done any work on it lately. I've planned on it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And see, without values and integrity, it doesn't really matter what system you've got. You have a problem. Always. And no set of laws will fix a system where there's no integrity. You really got to have some integrity. Otherwise, there's just something missing. I had this Russian friend that I worked with here. And one day he came to work and he was showing me this stuff about some guy who got busted for stealing $10 million, who was in some kind of official position. Said, oh yeah, it's completely normal. Anybody would do this. We would expect people to do this. This is how things work, blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, you know, that's the problem. You think it's normal that somebody who's given a position of trust violates it and steals millions of dollars. You can't have that if you're going to have a functioning society. So yeah, I'd say before you decide on capitalism or communism or socialism or a mixed system like we have here, we have a mixed socialist capitalist system, which I think works pretty well. I'd say the first thing you've got to do is you've got to have some integrity. Because no system will work when there's no integrity. I don't know. It's just me. Welcome to the chat room. New, but there's no message. Okay? There you have it. So yeah, I would start there. And I think something that maybe Putin has overlooked is that back in the Cold War, the KGB did have a certain amount of integrity. And so did the communists, were at least trying to make things work, most of them. And for a while it did okay. Like by 1960, Russia was ahead scientifically, or Soviet Union was ahead. Standard of living there was not that bad at that point. It had problems, but it was better than it had been in a long time. Education was good. I think we got something there. This one I'm itching to start on. But then the West has a problem with integrity these days too. It's not just Russia. Big problems here with that. See, this is one of those things that I'm working on right here. I could just ignore this and then put it in later, but starting with a complete drawing is better than starting with a not complete drawing. Complete means different things in different situations. This is watercolor, so no, it probably doesn't need a drawing the same as like an oil painting would. And it's a fantasy. It's very cartoonish. Just fine. They actually do use these weird triangle shingles like that here sometimes. I haven't quite figured it out, but it is a real thing. time to get some Formosa oolong tea going. This is going to be a nice painting. This will be cool. Let's see what's happening here. What else is going on? Let's look at the Guardian. Biden and Putin exchange warnings. Ghislaine Maxwell speculation grows that Britain may try to cut a deal for a reduced sentence. Good luck with that. I don't know if she'll succeed. The powers that be may want to scapegoat her and ignore the people that participate in that activity, because that will protect the rich and powerful. See what I mean? Lack of integrity. I mean, we know for a fact that Bill Clinton flew on that Lolita Express flight at least 60 times. 63 was the number that I've seen floating around the most from the log books. We know Alan Dershowitz and a lot of other people were on that flight, on his flights. We know that this guy was up to something no good. And we know that he was trying to corrupt people. But maybe we don't want to know that the President of the United States was engaged in pedophilia, or former president. That's the problem. Lack of integrity. Biggest single problem facing the world today. And authoritarianism is not integrity. I don't know, we'll see what happens. I think the smartest player in all this is China right now. I think they stand to make the biggest gain here. Alright, that's ready for painting. I did this the other night. We need to work on this. Production. A horrific event. Colorado wildfires destroy hundreds of homes as thousands evacuate. Gusts of up to 105 miles an hour, 170 kilometers per hour, whipped up flames, destroying hundreds of homes and prompting the governor to declare a state of emergency. I used to live near there. Two fast-moving wildfires driven by strong winds erupted in northern Colorado on Thursday afternoon, destroying close to 600 homes and forcing tens of thousands of residents to flee. This is in Boulder County. The fires burning to the north and south of the city of Boulder were fanned by the gust of whipped flames into smoke into a frenzy. I don't know what to say about that. They do this thing over there where they build homes in places that really are not suitable for people to live. They did it in California. And they knew these wildfires were a thing. It's not like this, oh wow, look, Harry, there's a wildfire. No, it wasn't like that. I wonder what's going on. Da, 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 da. A lot of these developments are just placed in. I remember this one place. I had an acquaintance that lived up in the mountains, a woman. No, she was not my girlfriend ever. Not my type. Too flaky. Too weird. And she had this really nice house. It was very expensive. It was made out of wood and all the usual stuff they make houses out of over there. And that was in a perfect spot for wildfire to burn her house to the ground. It really was. I don't quite get it. A lot of people I knew had houses like that over there. And then there's this whole, oh, let's go live in the wilderness. Well, I got news for you. There's a reason why it's wilderness. I know that's shocking. It's like these crazy people on this home rescue program that I watch sometimes. They move to the wilderness, they do not really have the skills to live there, and then they get into trouble. I'm not really sure how to process that. It's like moving to a new country and not learning the language and then wondering why you're having problems adapting. Well, I don't know. Learn language X, Y, and Z and it'll work. Oh, and no, you probably don't have the same exact kind of lifestyle that you had where you came from. See that here all the time with Americans. What? I can't do X? I can't do Y? I can't do Z? My God, this is horrible. Well, if you feel that way, leave. I would say that, generally speaking, your freedoms are better here than they are in the United States. But it also depends on what you define as freedom. Whew, it's been an hour. I need to do some more drawing. But I need some tea. Let me go throw the kettle on. Okay, the kettle is now kettling. I want to break from this. We should come back and look at this. This needs work. I don't know. Maybe I need a break. I'm considering here. Yeah, I do. I think I need a break. I think I need 15 minutes to decompress from that last drawing. And then we'll come back and work on this one. So I'll be back on, I don't know, anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. So, shutting down here. Take care. Bye. Hasta la vista, baby.